The exact date of Baku's construction is unknown. However, based on the scientific research conducted so far, we can say with confidence that the city is at least 2000 years old. That's Baku is more than 2000 years old. The Middle Ages. A Sassanid treasure found in Baku dating back to the 5th, 7th centuries indicates that it was an inhabited area at that time. In the early Middle Ages, Baku's economy was based on oil and salt production, and madder and saffron grown in Baku and the Absheron region. Their export to the far eastern countries, both by land, caravan routes, and by sea, was an important factor in the development of the feudal city. In the second half of the 9th century, the weakening of the Abbasid Caliphate and the growing tendency to distance itself from the central government led to the establishment of a number of independent states in the countries under the Caliphate. One of such states was the state of Shirvanshahs. At the end of the 10th century, Baku became one of the main cities of Shirvan. The population was engaged in handicrafts, trade, gardening, horticulture, viticulture, silkworm breeding, husbandry, oil production, fishing, and so on. The development of feudal relations, trade, and crafts allowed the city to prosper. Located at the crossroads of international trade routes, Baku was important in trade between eastern and western countries. Baku has been known as a port city since the 10th century. From the end of the 11th century to the beginning of the 13th century, Baku was experiencing a period of progress. After a strong earthquake in Shamakhi in 1191, Shirvanshah Aghstan I temporarily moved the capital to Baku. The Shirvanshahs strengthened the city by building a number of buildings. In the first half of the 12th century, Baku was surrounded by a two-tiered fortress wall and a trench. The city's defense system included the Maiden's Tower. In 1232-1235, a fortified fortress was built inside the bay to protect Baku from the sea. The Shirvanshahs created a strong navy in the Caspian Sea. In the 30s of the 13th century, the Mongols invaded Baku and captured the city after a long siege. Oil production and trade in Baku declined. At the end of the 13th century, in the 14th, 15th centuries, Baku became the main port city in the Caspian Sea. After becoming the capital of the state of Shirvanshahs, during the rule of the Derbent dynasty, Baku became one of the most important cities not only in Azerbaijan, but also in the entire Middle East. Baku was actively involved in international transit silk trade and in the trade of other goods between East and West. In 1501, Shah Ismail Khatai attacked Shirvan and captured Baku. In 1538, the Safavid ruler Tahmasib I united Shirvan, including Baku, into the Safavid state. During the Safavid Ottoman Wars in 1578, the Ottoman army captured Baku. In 1607, the city again came under Safavid rule. During the Safavids, copper coins were issued in Baku. A large part of the population of Baku and Absheron was engaged in carpet weaving. In the 16th, 18th centuries, handicrafts, especially carpet weaving, further developed. The strengthening of the central government, the cessation of feudal strife and destructive wars that undermined the development of the country's productive forces since the 1640s had a positive impact on the development of urban life in Baku. Many foreign merchants and travelers came to the city. They noted the revival of the city's economic life, the increased handicraft production, oil and salt production, and their export. The role of merchants in the social life of the city increased. Baku was an important port on the Caspian Sea. From here, mainly shamaki, silk, and other handicrafts were transited to Europe, Russia, and other countries. Baku's rich natural resources, as well as its important military strategic importance, have attracted Russia's attention since the early 18th century. Trying to conquer the southwestern shores of the Caspian Sea, Peter I created a special naval expedition. During the Russian-Iranian War in 1722-23, Baku, which was previously in Safavid possession, was occupied by Russian troops. On June 26, 1723, Peter I's army entered Baku. However, when they heard of Nadir Shah Afshar's military success in Persia and of the threat he posed to Russia, they agreed to cede Baku to Persia again in 1735. Nadir Shah appointed Mirza Muhammad Khan I to become a feudal Khan. At this point, the Khan was practically and officially a vassal of the Iranian Shah. The eruption of instability following Nadir Shah's death in 1747 gave rise to the various Caucasian Khanates. Baku Khanate was one of these. Baku Khanate was an autonomous Muslim Khanate under Iranian suzerainty, which existed between 1747 and 1806. Originally a province of Safavid Empire, it became practically independent after the assassination of Nadir Shah and weakening of central authority in Iran due to the struggle for power. Although Baku Khanate formally stayed a vassal of the Iranian Shahs, the Khan was practically independent in his actions and decisions. Initially ruled by Mirza Muhammad Khan, who ruled the Khanate in the period of 1747-1768, the Khanate soon became a dependency of the much stronger Guba Khanate. However, in 1772, Mirza Muhammad's son Malik Muhammad Khan reclaimed Baku and became the new Khan. During this time, the population of Baku remained small, approximately 5,000, and the economy suffered as a result of constant warfare. In the spring of 1796, Russian troops marched on Azerbaijan. Baku was captured on June 13th. After the death of Catherine II, the Tsar's troops left Baku in March 1797.